Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Good 5 Cent Cigar Newscast. I'm Ryan Pelillo. Thank you so much for joining us. This week, we'll hear how federal changes impact URI non-citizens, learn about Rhody outpost initiatives, hear from new Student Senate representatives, and get a federal orders update with Casey Chan-Smutko. And of course, David Okula will have all things Rhody athletics covered in this week's Rhody Sports Corner. For our top story this week, Ryan Arruda spoke to URI staff about how recent federal immigration enforcement impacts non-citizen members of the URI community.
Due to the recent federal action sweeping across the nation, many non-citizen students and staff at colleges and universities are worried at possible detainment and deportation. Though none of these cases have been specifically reported on at the University of Rhode Island, students and staff are scared. Under the current Trump administration, legal non-citizens now face the risk of removal. At URI, Vice President for Global Initiatives Kristen Johnson says this approach is unlike anything her office has seen. The university is using national cases to guide its response.
So we're seeing a different strategy for immigration enforcement. It does look like today that the visa for the Tufts University student had been revoked before the student had been taken into custody. That changes the role of the university in that process, legally.
The University of Rhode Island is responding to federal actions that take place across the country while avoiding the speculation in social media.
What I will say is that we're not being reactive to everything that's happening or being talked about, because a lot of it is innuendo until it happens.
For day-to-day concerns, Melissa De Jesus, URI's Director of International Students and Scholars and Immigration Services, says students are reaching out more than ever.
So the reaction has been they have had more questions, of course, and in reaching out to our office, we have also conducted drop-in sessions at the colleges to welcome those questions. If they don't feel comfortable coming to us, we feel comfortable going to them to answer them.
In the case that a federal organization were to come onto the Kingston campus, they'd be immediately directed to URI's public safety. The university's main priority is making sure all requests for information are factually checked prior to any action.
They're better suited to take that action on, and they have other connections to other agencies that they could verify this information. So I think that's how come we're partnering with public safety, because they'll be able to identify if the request is, a true request versus if there is something else that's going on.
Though the university cannot provide individual legal representation, they urge students to keep a constant communication with the university while offering resources from the AILA.
We can't offer individual legal representation, right? Just like we can't for any other issue. Our role is we're here to support the community. The university is a sponsor for international visas. We have a compliance obligation. We also deeply care about the entirety of our community and supporting them. And it's a hard time across the board, given the space and uncertainty associated with change. And so we are doing our very best to meet all of the needs and responsibilities that we have.
Ryan Arruda.
Thanks, Ryan. Next up, Niza Vinas had the chance to speak with Rhody Outpost, an initiative on campus to help students with food insecurity. Here's the story.
Food insecurity is a growing concern on college campuses nationwide, and the University of Rhode Island is no exception. A recent study at URI found that 56% of surveyed students experienced some level of food insecurity. To help students get the support they need, URI offers Rhody Outpost, an on-campus pantry located off Tootle Road where students could go up to 3 times a month to pick up groceries and essentials.
We're only open Monday and Wednesday from 3 to 5. A lot of students can't come then, but we'll have an opportunity students can order and come on Tuesday mornings and just pick it up right in front of the building. We'll have everything bagged up for them. So there's multiple ways to get in here if coming from 3 to 5 doesn't work or you're just not certain. But please reach out because we want to have you here. No student at URI should have to go hungry because they lack the resources. That's what we're here to do.
To use Rhody Outpost, students must first complete a brief intake form and be approved. Once enrolled, they're encouraged to take only what they need and use the pantry as a supplemental resource. URI's SNAP outreach program also connects students and community members to long-term food assistance through the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, formerly known as food stamps. According to the Rhode Island Community Food Bank, nearly 1 in 3 households in the state struggle to afford food.
We provide our outreach materials, the college student-specific materials, to the Student Support and Advocacy Center, the Multicultural Student Services Center, Talent Development, Gender and Sexuality Center, Veterans and Military Family Resources, Community Equity and Diversity Office, the Women's Center, and Financial Aid. And there is plenty of research to support that underrepresented populations are affected more by food insecurity. And that goes for students as well.
The SNAP program also recently opened a student access lounge. Designed for commuter and off-campus students, the lounge includes a fridge and a microwave, so students can store and heat up food throughout the day, making it easier to eat well and save money. With inflation still affecting budgets across the country, programs like Rhody Outpost and SNAP are helping students stay focused on their education without going hungry. To sign up for Rhody Outpost or the SNAP program, connect with the outreach team online or on campus. From Kingston, I'm Niza Vinas.
Thanks, Niza. Now we'll hand it off to Casey Chan-Smutko with this week's Federal Orders Update.
I'm Casey Chan-Smutko, your Federal Order reporter with the Good 5 Cent Cigar. In this week's report, I will recap the latest email update from URI Communications on federal actions. For almost 3 months, the Communications Office has been working to inform the URI community about federal actions the office has taken to handle President Donald Trump's executive orders that affect our school. In the past 2 weeks, URI held 2 major events, URI Day and a town hall meeting. URI Day took place at the Rhode Island State House to show how our school spirit makes work possible and the importance of research and public scholarships. The town hall event discussed the federal actions that directly impact URI and reminded the public about President Mark Perlange's strategic plan. To learn more about the events, the town hall meeting is on the front page of last week's print edition, and URI Day is included in last week's newscast. This has been Casey Chan-Smutko with the Good 5 Cent Cigar. Back to you.
Thanks, Casey. And finally, the Cigar's own Will Holt spoke to newly elected Student Senate President and Vice President about their goals for their term in office.
Today I will be speaking with the Student Senate's newly elected President and Vice President on their platform and what they plan to do in the upcoming fall 2025 semester.
I'm Maylin Reyes, and I'm the President-elect for Student Senate.
Hi, my name is Vitania Hailu, and I'm a Vice President-elect for the Student Senate.
Some of the issues we're going to focus on is just increasing the resources we have on campus. So we have way too many that some students don't really know about. So we want to create a hub that puts all of them together that gives easy access to the students. In addition to that, we also want to work with dining services to improve Ramsden and dining hall experiences. We want to introduce discount days for the Ramsden so prices can be much cheaper on certain days. Have a say on your plate thing for dining halls. So every 2 weeks, students can submit what they would like to have at the dining halls. This way, students can also be enjoying meals that they have chosen themselves.
Increase better transportation on campus and off campus with RIPTA, and parking and lighting on campus will be enhanced.
I think one of the things that we can start focusing on is campus safety. So I feel like we could work with TAP, which is Transportation and Parking Services, to fix our parking lots, to fix the potholes around campus, and also just communicating with RIPTA so we can increase the different routes and stops that the RIPTA buses have already, so it allows for accessible transportation off campus.
I'm Will Holt with the 5 Cent Cigar.
Thank you, Will. Looking ahead, here's what's going on next week at URI. On Monday, URI Master Gardener Cheryl Chipman will host a beginner flower pressing workshop. Stop by if you're looking for a way to turn your spring garden into art. On Wednesday at 8 p.m., Sojourn Collegiate Ministry will host an epic Easter egg hunt around campus. Meet outside the library with a flashlight and an egg collecting bag to join in on the fun. On Friday, April 18th, join Fred Whitehurst, retired FBI, at 3:30 p.m. in room 100 of the Beaupre Center for his lecture on Defending the Ingredient, a talk in URI's annual Forensic Science Seminar series. And with that, we'll hand it off now to David Okula with this week's Rhody Sports Corner.
Thanks, Ryan. Hello and welcome to the Rhody Sports Corner, your place for all the latest updates across URI athletics. I'm David Okula. Seeking its first series win of the season, the softball team welcomed in St. Joseph's for a 3-game set this weekend. After dropping a back-and-forth first game on Friday, the Rams responded with a 6-2 win, led by 5 scoreless innings from third-year pitcher Ashley Hibbard. Then they dropped the series finale 14-1 on Saturday. Here's Gerard Villemenay with the story from the URI Softball Complex.
The University of Rhode Island softball team competed in a 3-game series against St. Joseph's University over the weekend. St. Joseph's won the series 2-1, while the Rams dropped to an overall record of 9-21 and 3-9 in the Atlantic 10 Conference. The series began on Friday as the Rams and the Hawks kept the game close throughout the first matchup. In the bottom of the 5th inning, the Rams led 5-3 until the top of the 6th inning, where the Hawks scored 4 straight runs, taking a 7-5 lead. At the bottom of the 7th inning, the Rams scored 2 runs, tying the game at 7 runs apiece. In the final inning, St. Joseph's broke the tie with 1 more run, ending the game with the final score of 8-7.
It was definitely disappointing because we know we're a much better team than that, especially starting off ahead and then losing that lead. I think we battled really well, but not the outcome we wanted.
I thought our team really came together, although we didn't get the outcome we wanted. I thought we fought till the end. I think our pitchers did really well in the circle, and our batters had our pitchers' backs, and our defense was also really well.
In the second game, the Rams responded to their Game 1 loss with a 6-0 lead until the game was postponed until Saturday, where the Rams won the game with a final score of 6-2.
I think it was just the way we've tried to approach everything, that when the first game's over, what we learned from it, go get your food, let's get ready to play in the next. So it's just the consistency of how we approach things every day, and so it's a great credit to our girls, and we always talk about that. You know what, you just lost a really hard game. How tough are we going to be to come back and be able to compete right off the bat, first pitch?
In the final game of the series, Rhode Island fell to St. Joseph's 14-1. The Rams will return to the URI Softball Complex to take on St. Louis University in a 3-game series on Saturday and Sunday. Reporting from the URI Softball Complex, my name is Gerard Villemenay, Rhody Sports Corner.
As for some other scores and results around campus this week, after splitting the first 2 games, baseball came back from a 7-0 deficit on Sunday to win the 3-game series over Richmond. Then the Rams hosted Quinnipiac for a midweek matchup on Wednesday. Following its series loss to St. Joseph's, softball traveled to Providence for an in-state doubleheader against Brown on Wednesday. Women's lacrosse dropped its 2nd consecutive game in a 16-9 loss to St. Joseph's at Meade Stadium on Friday. The Rams remained home for a battle with LaSalle on Wednesday afternoon. Men's and women's track and field teamed up to compete in the first ever Ocean State Cup in Smithfield on Friday. With 175 points from the men's team and 231 points from the women's team, Rhode Island finished first out of 7 teams at the event. Golf responded from a tough opening round on Monday to win the Dragon Match Play Invitational in Pennsylvania this week. The victory marks the 5th of the year for the Rams. Finally, women's rowing competed in the St. Joseph's Invitational on Saturday, where it collected wins from its Varsity 8+ and second Varsity 8+ boats. That's all for this week's edition of the Rhody Sports Corner. To stay updated with all things URI athletics, follow us on X at @cigar_sports. Back to you, Ryan.
Thanks, David. That's all we have for you this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to follow us here and on Instagram at Rhody Cigar, and pick up our print paper anywhere on campus to stay up to date with all your Rhody news. Find us online at rhodycigar.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Ryan Pelillo. This is the Good 5 Cent Cigar Newscast. And as always, have a great week, Rhody.